Hey, this is Xander Cannon, creator of Kaiju Max, and you are listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
Hello folks, welcome to 11 O'Clock Comics. This is episode 1002. I am one of your hosts, David A. Price, and with me, as usual, is...
Fox Mulder.
Oh man, digging in the crates. You are not Fox Mulder. No, everybody, this is none other than Jason Wood, but we are not alone. We have an old friend with us tonight. You've heard him a couple weeks ago, actually, on episode 1000. True. But it is the man, the myth, the legend, none other than Comics Discourse 114's own Brian Newberry. Welcome, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to see ramp.
Yeah, exactly. The spiritual ramping up of the Baltimore Comic-Con United like Voltron. So,
absolutely.
2 weeks.
Hard to believe, man.
Definitely needed. But first, order of business. This episode, as always, is brought to you by our friends at cheapgraphicnovels.com, where you can find a ton of weekly new releases that are on discounted prices. Sales galore throughout the year. A bunch of specials were posted on the Slack for our patrons, as well as a few other special items like Hyde Street Volume 1 trade paperback for $10.49. A new epic era in character-centered horror begins with Ghost Machines Hyde Street, its newest ongoing series from creators Jeff Johns and Ivan, or I'll let Jason pronounce Ewing's name. The artist, of course, of Blackest Night, Green Lantern, Aquaman, in every city and town.
Ivan Heiss.
Thank you, Ivan Heiss. Mm-hmm. In every city and town off every Country Road and Metropolis Avenue. If you make a wrong turn in your soul, you might find yourself on High Street. But be careful who you talk to and what you do, because the consequences make death itself seem like the easy way out. Introducing Mr. X-Ray, Pranky, the world's most dangerous bitch, Miss Goodbody, and many more out to delight, fright, and say goodnight. What is their secret? And that of Hyde Street. Read and find out. We also have Megaton Man, the complete Megaton Man Universe, Volume 1, the 1980s trade paperback for $47.99. The Man of Molecules began as satire, but soon became the industry standard. The mega hero of 1,000,000 tons of TNT joins forces with the See-Through Girl, Yarn Man, and Cosmic Cat to face down Bad Guy, the Cosmic Cue Ball, and the Partiers from Mars, with unpublished art and roughs, plot outlines, historic photographs, and other relics not seen since the Cold War, with an introduction by Morrison from The Simpsons, a foreword by Chris Ecker of Big Man Comics, and an afterword by the author. Of course, that'd be Don Simpson. And finally, Ripperland trade paperback for $13.99. The year is 2188, and Jack the Ripper has returned to London. For the last century, a shattered post-Brexit England has operated as a massive Victorian theme park in exchange for American military and financial protection. Jesus. But what an American mogul's grandson is killed in the heart of London. But when an American mogul's grandson is killed in the heart of London, the delicate status quo is threatened. Is the killer a maniac? Americans taking advantage of their superior technology? Or the English underground resistance wishing to throw off the yoke of American oppression and rejoin the modern world? American Special Agent Jesse Holden and a local British police detective Edwin Fogg must overcome their clashing ideologies in order to find the truth in the foggy streets of 22nd century London. This collects the 4-issue miniseries Ripperland, which I have on cue to read very, very soon. So that are those are your specials for this week. And if
I tag one in on there?
Go ahead.
So funny story, about an hour before we jump on, I was looking through my Facebook feed in the Omnibus group. Y'all know I love some books. Jason, the X-Men Blue and Gold omnibus is like sold out everywhere.
It's sold out of cheap graphic novels as well.
Oh, that was
Both-
what somebody was
both covers?
saying. No, get your ass over there. It's that cheap graphic novels. You can still get it.
Nah, it's sold out, man.
Everybody
It's sold out.
bagged
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
like,
Well,
try and look at Amazon.
That was one of the that was one of the items that I posted to the Slack. That was $89.99. There are two covers: a direct market Jim Lee cover and a regular Jim Lee cover. And for those who are curious about its contents, this collects the Adjectiveless 1991 X-Men series numbers 1 through 16 and the first annual, Uncanny X-Men 281 through 297 and annual 16, Ghost Rider numbers 26 and 27, X Factors number 84 through 86, X-Force numbers 16 through 18, and Stripes Strike File number 1, and material from X Factor annual number 7, X-Force annual number 1, Marvel Comics Presents numbers 89, and X-Men Odd Men Out.
Yeah, it collects a whole shit ton of stuff I already have and other hardcovers, so I passed on it. But
Same. I'm trying to use some discipline. I have all of that in so many other forms, but it's hard. It's hard.
Well,
And there are some things that you don't need to double dip on.
Stuff. Yeah. Well, it's got it. They already have oversized hardcovers: the Bishop's Crossing, Shattershot, and the Executioner's Song. But those are all in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I don't need this one, but it was hard not to put that on my order.
That's true. So yeah, man. What's that?
I thought I was the coolest thing in the early '90s. I had a really nice T-shirt. It was mostly black and white with like black Kirby crackle, but the image was from that first annual from the Shattershot crossover from the annuals with the Jim Lee cover, and it kind of looked 3D-ish, but it was a really nice shirt. Nothing lasts forever, but yeah, I really like that image. I like, even though Scott was a little buff, I do like Jim Lee's X-Men.
It's a classic image. They use that one a lot still today.
They do, yeah.
They do. They use that Magneto image. There's a lot of images they use that for like the licensing in those is strong.
Yeah.
That is an era of heavy licensure for sure.
Which is why.
So, Dad, what are you drinking, dog? Are you drinking today?
I am enjoying some unrated Cabernet Sauvignon from 2020 and from Chile.
Ah, Chile, nice. I am drinking many things, none of which are alcoholic. I've got some G0 sitting here. I'm finishing off some Earl Grey tea, and I have a big old slug of water to wash all that down. So multitudes of options, but none with any alcohol in it.
Well, I've got the water to chase this with. I mean, the wine pairs nicely with the big ass smoothie I had for dinner. What are you drinking, Brian?
I get up and work out about 5:30 every morning, so I'm drinking water.
Excellent.
Man, gotta stay hydrated. That's what's up.
That's right. Can't go wrong with that.
Dude, I don't know how. Like you're like my wife. Like she works out in the morning. I just can't do it. I cannot do it.
Same.
Like no matter what, I tell myself I always work out later in the day. I cannot bring myself.
I've yo-yoed weight my entire adult life, and the only time I really
say we all.
I get up in the morning and just do it then. I also do a second workout in the afternoon most days when I'm at the office because the gym's like in the office building, so it gets me away from my desk. But yeah, morning workouts are the one I get on.
No, it's great. I mean, I wish I could. I love the idea of just getting out of the way, but it just never going to happen. Yeah. Not gonna happen. But what will happen is we're gonna talk some comics, and
yes,
in the spirit of our wonderful guest, who, by the way, for I think we talked a little bit about this during episode 1000, but Brian is a voracious comics reader, much like ourselves. He reads a lot of freaking comics, and he's also a tastemaker because he's one of those people that's often like, "Hey, did you read this?" And if he says he's read it and it's really good, 9 times out of 10, if not higher, I'm going to try it and agree with him. So with that in mind, you told us about something that you were on discussing tonight so that we had a chance to read it too. Now, I read it. I don't know if DAP read it. DAP, did you read it?
Yes, I did.
Perfect. All right. Brian, regale us with this wonderful book that you've brought to us.
So, behind the curtain a little bit, y'all on episode 1000 asked folks to come with either stories about y'all or some of the best things they've read this year. And, at mid-year, Comics Discourse 114 does a rundown of what we're liking so far, and then we do an annual one just like y'all do. And with it being the spooky season, and with me stepping in for Vince tonight, a couple things came together. I was like, all right, I got a horror book that is up Vince's alley, and it's one of the best things I've read this year. So, and nobody's talked about it but me on like anything I've heard of. So I was like, all right, I'm going to send this over to y'all. So one of the things I have fallen into the last couple of years is I'm falling in love with a lot of the 2000 AD stuff. Because let's be real, I'm getting tired of Marvel. Like, they're not doing it for me. DC's on fire right now, but I need some variety. Mm-hmm. And I love some European comics on top of that. Now, it's an anthology. The stories are hit and miss every week, but there's always a few bangers every year. Like, Jason, I know I sent you Silver, the crazy sci-fi vampire story last year. I love that.
Same.
There's a story by Dan Abnett called The Out that's on book 4 or 5. It's about to come out. You guys flipped through it when Tim gave me the hardcover at Heroes, but it doesn't reprint very well in that smaller format because the 2000 AD progs are sizable. And then there's always a Dredd feature in 2000 AD, always a lead story. And Dredd is a character that they drop into almost any genre. You got the sci-fi, the crime, the noir, the horror, deep space shit, and this one's straight up horror story. I could see it being a horror. It's got a lot of themes. So, all that said, early this year, in Prague's 2418 to 2425, so an 8-part series, they did one called The Shift, written by Ken Niemand and art by Nick Percival. And it is straight up horror, like flat out. Before we get to the plot, what did y'all think? Because I know y'all don't read that much Dredd.
So you're right. I mean, I've read precious little 2000 AD in my life, and in fact, all of the Dredd I've read has been either because someone has gifted me the stories and said you got to read this, or something related to like this for the show or something. So I've never, I guess, actively on my own sought out Dredd to read. A little background. I like everything about Dredd except for the aesthetic. I, for some reason, have a visceral disdain for the Judge costumes. I just don't like them. And I think that plays a role in my not seeking out the stories. But I will say that surface level dainty flower that I may be, every time I read a Dredd story, and I'm assuming, of course, that I'm often being put onto the best Dredd stories, so I'm sure there's stuff that doesn't hit as much. But every time I read a Dredd story on someone's recommendation, I enjoy it thoroughly. And this fits right into it.
It would be right up your alley with dystopian, post-apocalyptic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've nothing against Dredd's aesthetic other than the costumes. I I assume everyone listening knows what Judge Dredd and the judges look like, but they're like a play on police, like SWAT team armor if it was futuristic and oversized, like bulky, right? Like it's basically like a paramilitaristic SWAT, like blue hued armor suit, and it's, again, there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but just for some reason it's always not quite clicked with me. But that said, this is definitely right with that. I thought that the story was great. I loved the art, was incredible. I mean, just lush paint. I don't know if it's digital or traditional, but lush painted artwork, and I mean, just hyper illustrated, and then to boot, like you said, this is spooky season. I am in the midst of a month-long horror deluge that I always save up all the horror movies and TV over the course of the year that I want to watch and binge them this time of year. So I'm always in the mood for good horror comics, and this certainly fit from the genre perspective. So yeah, 2 thumbs up for me. I mean, we'll get into the plot and stuff, but I appreciate you bringing it, because I certainly wouldn't have even known this existed had you not mentioned it, and I'm glad you mentioned it.
I tend to check out a 2008 here and there. I'm right now. I'm working my way through the half a dozen volumes of the best of 2000 AD trades from that were solicited and then canceled and then finally started coming out. So I'm enjoying those. But I've always my first introduction to Dredd was when Quality reprinted in the smaller comic size format of the old Brian Boland drawn issues that gave us the Judge that storyline and things like that. So I've been a fan of the character for almost as long as I've been aware of him and reading the comics, but I don't subscribe to 2000 AD. I don't actively check it out as often as I'd like to. So I definitely appreciate when someone recommends a current story in the anthology or a collection. So yeah, first, thank you, Brian, for bringing this particular story to our attention. As far as the shift itself, the painting definitely adds to the spook factor, to making you feel like you're in this diseased realm. I felt like it was just the right length. Obviously, if anybody who's not familiar with 2000 AD, it is an anthology. Every story is about, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 pages long. So you're getting a few chapters in this particular story, but it doesn't feel like it was drawn out. There wasn't any filler. I was a little concerned towards the end that maybe that was all kind of maybe in Dredd's mind and it was going to go on a little longer, but everything, it was, Neiman tells a great story. I really did. I really did enjoy this. I had no expectations going in. I figured it's a Dredd story. I kind of get an idea of what I'm getting, but this was very, very enjoyable, and I like the nods to, or the mentions, the subtle mentions to previous stories that we don't always get, because there have been so many Judge Dredd stories. It's nice when they do a callback to something that may have happened decades ago. So this was good. I absolutely, big thumbs up for me.
Well, first of all, I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. So thank you. Second, if you guys, 2000 or Rebellion's been doing a good job of curating some of their works lately. Shit, for a while. But one line I like, it's soft covered, and they're the Essentials, and they have one for Judge Dredd, Judge Anderson, Rogue Trooper, and I think they're doing one for Judge Death soon. And there are these lines that come out like 1 or 2 a year. I think they're supposed to be 10 for each character, and they're the essential stories. So it's the curated good shit from that character. And they're like 150 to 200 pages each. So they're just really good starting points and fun to read. Because I don't know hardly anything about Judge Anderson besides she's a telepath, and her books are really trippy. I really like them. And then Judge Dredd, you get the high points of a lot of his stories, so they've been cool to read. Second, DAP, you mentioned this one drops nuggets of some past stories, and I had to look this one up. They talk about the Day of Chaos a lot in here, and it is apparently the longest Judge Dredd story ever. It went like close to 50 issues. So 50 parts broken up into different segments, but the overall storyline was 49 parts. And it was a mix of the Soviets from the East Megacity and Russia, which had already bombed Megacity 1 decades ago, and the release of a genetically engineered virus. It killed 350 million citizens in Megacity, so half the population. And it decimated Megacity 1. And that's part of the setting of the story in The Shift. We're at one of the blocks, which is one of the giant buildings that's been abandoned, and that whole neighborhood was ruined during the Day of Chaos. So I had to look that up, and I'm hoping they put that out in one of these essentials so I can read that soon.
That's awesome. Good background.
Yeah. Again, I had to look that up tonight because I read all these as they came out weekly, and then reading them all at once for tonight. I was like, oh, I need to look that shit up.
I just assumed that like it was just abandoned because like it's fucking that you know like it's just a decrepit area. So I'm glad for that context. I didn't know that was like unusual. That I just assumed there were like abandoned parts of the city. So. Yeah,
and then that's why we get that cult shit that's happening in this storyline with people gouging their eyes out and all that shit too. But pretty well, Dredd's on patrol and gets a call from somebody he's worked with before. This professor, one of her students, is missing, and she's asking Dredd to go find her, the student, in this abandoned building, Elias Lamb block, and Judge Dredd also gets a call from himself saying that he's found a girl and he's trying to get out. He's like, I've never made this call. What the fuck is going on here? And so he, this is very, very much like a 90s, like, what's that? What's that old, was it Urban Legends or something like that? That old horror movie from the 90s?
I mean, there was a movie. Yeah. Did that have a similar story? Is it?
Yeah, and basically, this professor student is going to study an urban legend in this building, and if you go in and hit elevator keys in a certain sequence, you will be shifted to this kind of horror dimension, which also sounds like some other horror movies as well. And apparently it worked for her, and the professor and her robot are trying to get Judge Dredd to go find her, and he agrees and starts plugging in the elevator destinations and ends up there. And as soon as the door opens, it is straight out of a crazy horror movie. Like these crazy demons with no eyes and syringes for fingers and very thin,
like out of like Hellraiser, like
bodies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucked up. And Judge Dredd's like, bring it on. He goes in there and starts looking for the girl.
He doesn't even give a. I guess that's just like his character. I mean, he doesn't give a shit. He just starts shooting. He's just like, all right, I'm just going to take all these people out. He doesn't care.
He don't give a fuck.
He's completely unfazed, I guess, which is typical for him. But yeah,
which he makes a note later, much later in this. He's like, I've been to Dead World, which is Judge Death's dimension. This is pretty well along those lines. So this is something he's experienced before. It's not his first time stepping into some crazy horror shit. But with the painted art that Percival does, it makes it so moody and creepy as hell. Like I would love to see this like animated or as an actual horror movie. Because the demons not just looking like the doctors, but there's flesh bags. There's a creepy lady with a deformed baby singing lullabies chasing them. There's the walls themselves come alive and have eyes and shit. And while Judge Dredd is in there, the shift zone starts seeping into Mega City 1 itself. It starts kind of at the building and builds out block by block by block. And when the judges finally get to the building, after hearing Judge Dredd's call, they all go in to try to find him, and they can't. And one of his allies, Judge Giant, runs into other squads, and the building has devoured some of them. Like, some of the judges have been sucked in and become part of the building, and you just see them in the concrete. Others just disappear completely. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild for sure, and a little bit of context, because I'm my favorite thing about the story is that, like you said, is it is a direct play on the Elevator game, which is a Korean folk story. I mean, it's horror tinged, but it's exactly that. I mean, it's he's pulling it directly. It's the Elevator game is the idea exactly. You go in an elevator, you hit floors in a certain sequence, and it brings you to a parallel. And then also talk about, I thought clever, as you mentioned, the building is called the Elisa Lam. Well, Elisa Lam is a real person. Elisa Lam actually was a woman who was found dead in a hotel in L.A. about a decade ago. And the last we saw of her was she was playing the elevator game on the hotel footage in the elevator. She was found dead in the basement. So kudos to him
for look up the building, because almost every building in Mega City 1 is named after some sort of celebrity or something like that.
Yeah, so very cool that he named the building after a woman who, at least by modern takes, died actually playing the elevator game, which is like in real life. So I thought that was very, very a very nice little Easter egg as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of that, and I thought that the book, like you said, visually it looks very much like Cenobites or like a hellscape, but the motif and the pacing of the story and the setting and all, very much did feel like a Korean like psychological horror film. Like there's that's an entire genre of horror films, and I felt like this was very much in that vibe, and I thought I don't it's a fairly deft thing to combine grotesque hellscape, body dysmorphic horror and Korean psychological horror. That's not something I think people try and pull off too often. So yeah, kudos to the creative team for landing that plane, because that's a hard one to land.
And layering in Judge Dredd on top of it.
Well, yeah, right, of course, yeah. And you're speaking a foreign language to me right now when you're talking about Judge Giant, and I've heard of Judge Anderson, but I had no idea she was a telepath. I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah,
I'm just going with it, man. I'm like, I know Judge Dredd's the badass. He's like the best. He's the best of them. I don't know why, but he's I guess he's the purest, and
because he was no cadet they'd ever seen. If you have to listen to Anthrax's "Eye on the Law," it's a great Judge Dredd origin song. But I would also
and he's a clone of the founder.
Oh,
and I would highly recommend watching the Carl Urban led Dredd movie.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. That's a really good movie. Yeah, for sure.
It's a solid adaptation. I felt it. I mean, we're gonna all forget about the other Judge Dredd movie, but this I felt that Dredd, even though it didn't go into it didn't explain his origin. It wasn't an introduction to the character, but it just puts you in this world, and it just, you felt exactly what you would feel reading any of the stories from the magazine. So it's a fantastic movie. For anybody listening who hasn't watched it, definitely seek it out.
I had no idea he was a clone of the founder of the Judges either. Interesting.
Yep.
Is that a Wolverine thing where for decades we didn't know that, and then they finally told that story, or was that something that was known from Jump?
I don't think it was known from Jump.
Okay.
And he has a brother too.
I'm reading that now. Rico, it's hilarious. Yep. Rico's a ridiculous name for a chance.
And
that's ridiculous.
I was today years old when I found out that Dredd has bionic eyes.
Yeah,
I didn't know that either. Okay. There you go.
And you never see Judge Dredd's face unless you're watching the Sylvester Stallone movie.
But I presume we know what he looks like because we've seen the face of some of his clones.
Yeah, we have seen the face of the founder or some of his family, because his family is actually out in the Cursed Earth, and Judge Dredd finds him at one point. So he's got a bunch of cousins and shit out in the mutated Cursed Earth.
There you go. Learn something
But
new every day.
so you
I'm
do
reading.
not
I'm
realize.
going down a rabbit hole. There's Dolman, who's another clone. There's Judge Kraken, another clone. There's all kinds of these guys running around. Damn.
And the side division is where Judge Anderson's from. So there is a whole bunch of telepathic judges, and one of them is in this story. I have no experience with this one. She's sent to the professor to have a discussion to learn more what she knows about whatever the hell Judge Dredd's going for or in for. And it turns out that she's actually sort of a sleeper agent for the fathers of Mega City 1, which I know nothing about. It seems like some plot line that's going to hopefully pay off soon. But they're trying to save Judge Dredd and get him out of the shift, because they know in order to stop it, they're going to have to basically blow up that building. And they want him out of there because they need him. But as the story goes, it just gets more horrific. Like there's a side judge that's in there, and she has a vision of these priests walking around with chalices full of eyeballs, and they pull her eyeballs out. Like it is fucked up. And then everybody's eyes start bleeding, and that's when Judge Dredd mentions he's got bionic eyes, but his eye sockets are bleeding too. But the curse from the shift just starts spreading throughout the town, and the further away it gets, it's not as strong, but the closer it is, like 3 kilometers from it, some artist pulls out her own eyes. Like some lady is hearing her dead kids trying to get into her apartment. Some accountant's reading his spreadsheet, and it tells him to go home and kill his family, and he's gonna. Like it, the disease that is in this building is just spreading out through the city, and the judges are like, we gotta stop this. So they're gonna nuke the building. But Judge Dredd's allies are trying to get him out, but they're kind of like, well, we're shit out of luck. We gotta save the city. But the professor's robot comes in and does the elevator game, because Judge Dredd and the girl can't take the elevator out. They can't call it from where they're at. But the robot gets in there, plays the game, and opens up the elevator for them, and they get taken back to Mega City 1 right when the building's about to blow up.
Smart ass robot too. I was gonna say like that. Definitely good. It's quick thinking on that robot's part.
But this story don't have a happy ending in and of itself,
No.
and I'm just going to leave that as a cliffhanger. But I want to see more of this Dredd. There's been some good stories this year, but this has been the best one for me. I love the tone. I love the art. It's just great.
Yeah, for sure. It's cool. I mean, it's cool to have a character like that is for a lot of European artists like their artistic sort of pinnacle. You know, like they want to be a part of. They want to have a Dredd story in their careers. You know, it's to me very analogous to how everybody wants to have a run at Batman, or you know, I mean, Batman I think is probably the purest analog here. You could bring up a few others, but I feel like every mainstream American comic creator wants Batman at some point in their careers. I feel like that's right in Europe.
Yeah.
Very well done, dude. Good call. Now the question is, how much bad Dredd have you read?
You know,
Is there such a thing?
Yeah, there's some that aren't that great, but reading the essentials and the stuff like that they curate, I think is the way to go. And then I've been reading the prog for the last 2 years, so there's some highs and some lows because it's anthology.
And that's and you're not just getting one like chunk of a story. You're not getting one issue of 20 odd pages a month. Because the character's been around for so long, because the magazine's been around seemingly forever. The law of averages, you're bound to get a few duds here and there, but overall, I would say there's more good Dredd than bad.
Yeah, and then they also weekly have the Judge Dredd magazine, which I do not read because I like the mix of the Judge Dredd and then all the other stories that are in 2000 AD.
Mm-hmm.
There are some that I skip. Like I'll give all of them a try, but if one ain't clicking with me, I'll skip it until it's over. 2 weeks ago, there was what's the issue number? 2450 every story is brand new. Like it's a brand new start. And usually, one story might be ending, one story might be in the middle, one story might be beginning. Like there's 4 or 5 in it. So they could be in different places all the time. But every now and then it lines up where every story is brand new. And 2450 was one of them. So Hassan jumped in on it there, and he's been reading since the last couple of weeks, and he's enjoying it.
Nice. Shout out to 2000 AD, man. A genuine institution.
Indeed.
Around a minute.
Yes, for sure. So, DAP, you and I discussed at great length Batman #1 by Matt Fraction and your boy Jorge Jiménez.
Separately, but yes, we did.
That's true. Yes, we did discuss it separately on the same episode, but separate recordings. So we've now gotten issue #2.
Yes.
And I'm curious what you thought, because we both very much liked the first issue. We thought that it was a nice start for Fraction. It felt very funny, which is nice as a change of pace for Batman. And I said I was going to be on board for at least until I stopped being entertained by it because of that. And you're an easier mark for Batman, but nevertheless you liked it. And I'm curious what you thought of the second issue.
I will start off by saying that because we only saw Robin on the last page of the first issue, I thought it was Damian. But
okay, it wasn't just me. Hassan and I had that debate, and he's like, "No,
Thank you.
it's Tim."
Well, Hassan would know.
I had no idea. It looks like Damian.
Yeah, a casual, not living and breathing and bathing in Batman every day would probably know out of the millions of Robins. Obviously, it wasn't Spoiler Robin, and it wasn't Red Hood Robin, but because that's just who I imagine is Robin these days, I thought it was Damian. Spoiler alert, it's not. It's Tim, which is great because my favorite Robin is Tim Drake.
Yep, mine too.
Nice. So, what I liked about this issue a lot is the way that Fraction not just picks up where we leave off with the first issue with the police drawing guns on Robin, and the after effects of that scene, but Fraction gives us a bit of a flashback with Bruce teaching Tim how to drive stick shift. And I had to learn how to drive on a stick. That was my first car was an 82 shit brown Honda Civic. It was the floor model that everybody test drove. It was my father's car, so he gave it to me when I turned 16. So I'm with Tim. Like, gotta learn how to drive stick if you want to learn how to drive a car.
Dude, this truck he sits in looks like the truck my dad made me learn how to drive in with a stick.
Hilarious.
Like,
This is a great issue.
Like,
It's hitting all the marks, man. But Damien is right there, being his little younger brother prick self. This issue, I really enjoyed this issue. It's there. We do see what follows after the cops show up and tell Robin to freeze, and he doesn't, and actions have consequences, and there was it. I will say, it felt, aside from the flashbacks with Bruce and Tim, the main story, because it was kind of happening pretty quickly. It felt like the issue kind of just breezed by. I got to the end and I was like, it's over already.
It was a very fast read, yeah.
Right? So, but Jorge looks absolutely amazing. No surprise there. And there are some serious repercussions because there are lives ending in this issue. So it can be a bit hard in that aspect, but I liked it. I'll definitely be back for the third issue, especially knowing that this is Tim. But yeah, I still on board. Really happy with it.
all right, I got
Glad to hear it.
I laughed my ass off when you know what I'm gonna say too. When Damien's jumps out the truck and
Yep.
Bruce makes him hit the clutch and throw Damien off the fucking truck. I was like, yeah, you deserve that, you little asshole.
Sure did. Little prick. So why didn't you like it, Jason?
No, I did. I liked it. I liked it.
Oh, okay. All right. No, because glad to hear it was one of those. I love what my friends.
No. I wasn't. No. I wasn't being facetious. No.
Okay.
First of all, the Jimenez is one of those artists that there's I don't know maybe a dozen these days of creators who generally still work almost exclusively on big two superhero books, and yet are so fucking good that every time you see him, you're like, if every superhero book looked like this, Marvel and DC would still be like top of the industry, right? Like just the way it is. I mean, it's a reminder of how a lot of the malaise that may or may not be happening with Capes and Cow's books these days is, I think, driven by a quality control issue. I genuinely believe that, because every time I see an artist like this or Pepe, right, or Casara, and I'm like, oh well, shit, like if if every book I opened up look like this, I would be a lot more tolerant of stories that felt familiar or redundant or repetitive. I'd be like, okay, but you're giving me this visual treat. So Jimenez on this book goes a long way, carries a lot of water, I think. And I've always, of course, been a massive Fraction fan. So I think he's in a camp of someone like a Bendis, where I totally get that there's some people that just don't like him. Or I put like Zdarsky for you, Dap. Like, there are definitely people that love Fraction and people that don't like Fraction. And so your mileage may vary. If this is a very Fraction-y book, I mean, even though it's Batman, so I would say if you're generally someone who's in the past not dug Fraction, I don't think you particularly like this take on Batman, because it is certainly unapologetically Fraction in the way he handles the stories and the personal non-costume stuff and all that. But I like the way that Fraction's cadence works and his dialogue choices, so that works for me. I mean, I don't know if I love, if I'm being honest, the idea of a second issue of this massive relaunch being essentially a filler issue. Now, it was entertaining, so they pulled it off, but like it's not really anything happens, like you said. It's basically introducing us to Tim, and both as Tim and as Robin, and we see he's certainly capable, right? He's a very capable Robin. He gets put in a circumstance where he ends up being arrested and in a truck full of ne'er-do-wells who all want to take him out, and he whoops their ass with no problem, and then he has to take over the driving because Bruce gets shot, which is interesting. It's interesting the Fraction has Bruce be so careless that he gets shot, like in issue 2. Like, that's interesting. But like ultimately we don't see any big bads. We don't get a sense of any big bads. We don't see any like super heroic or daunting challenges to the. It's just kind of your run of the mill, just thugs, henchmen. So and then I would say that if the one thing I have a little bit of the ick for is I'm not sure I'm buying into the Vandal Savage as the commissioner, and I understand it has nothing to do with Fraction. I'm not
buying into it.
Yeah, I know they inherited that, so I'm not holding that against them. But I wasn't reading.
But the fact that it exists,
as we talked about, I wasn't reading Tynan's run, and so I'm not sure I get that or care about it, especially like on multiple levels, but mainly because whether or not every time we mention Vandal Savage, I can't help but think and laugh because if Vince were here, he'd be just going on a tirade about how much he hates Vandal Savage. I don't hate Vandal Savage, but I think that given Vandal Savage's character history, why would the oldest human on Earth, I mean, I know he's a Cro-Magnon, but why would the oldest humanoid on Earth, like with literally millions of years of history and power and wealth, like want to bother being the commissioner of a city? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. He should have much bigger things, much bigger fish to fry, much bigger things going on. But anyway, well, whatever. But again, they're just working with what they got. They inherited that, so that's fine. And then the cliffhanger, and I mean, it's I guess it's spoilers, but again, it's nothing. It's fairly predictable. It's that that he's got the Gotham City Police Department viewing Batman and Robin as wanted criminals, as vigilantes, and again, like, that's the big cliffhanger, which was well done. It was well executed, I thought, and I thought it was like fitting, but at the same time, I'm thinking like, I mean, but like, it just feels like to me, this is like we're treading on very familiar ground. Like, I mean, there's been movies about that this is not new ground. Like the idea that Batman is like wanted by the GCPD is not in any way new. Like that is not a revelatory aha. Oh, like, oh, look at what you're doing with these characters. You're really switching it up. So like it's feeling a little samey to me after this issue, but again, the art and the pacing are good enough that I'm happy to stick around and see if Fraction's got a rabbit he can pull out of his hat. But if the big idea here is just that they're going to have to do what they do while also steering clear of the police, like that's nothing new, and it's not really going to be very much of a challenge for them. You know, like it's. But anyway, but yeah. So I liked it. I did have some nits, obviously, that I wanted to point out. But overall, it's solid, and much like with Amazing Spider-Man, I'll be sticking with it for now until they give me a reason not to.
Yeah. Yeah, there were it's like I said, it was it felt like it was a quick read, but we still get the little things here and there, like the bat bandages and the road spikes, and but what I flipping through it again before we started tonight, I don't know. This isn't necessarily a Fraction thing. I'm reading into it as that it's Fraction picking up threads that other writers have put down years ago, because whereas Dick was his first son, for lack of a better term, and obviously things didn't go well with Jason. He really seems to be taking his time, and because when he's teaching him how to drive, and we see later on in the day where Tim's getting frustrated because he's just getting in his own head, Bruce is really kind and considerate and takes the time to explain to him, listen, no, you are ready. You just we just need to. Whereas he had other chances, and so it looks. I'm reading it as Bruce learning and realizing what it takes to be a parent, to be a dad, and not just a father, and where he kind of fell short with the first two, and Damien, of course, being his biological son, but of course, I mean, Damien is a prick and gives off that entitled vibe, and that's of course his upbringing. But I got way more out of the few pages of the flashback than I did seeing Batman and Robin currently in action before or after getting shot. But that goes a long way with how I feel about this particular issue. Chances are things like that won't be there in future issues to kind of tug at my heartstrings, but Fraction won that battle with me here. Mm-hmm. So he's definitely got credit in the bank for me, with me.
Respect. Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, I feel pretty well how y'all do on this one. I do feel like the first issue itself was pretty quiet too. Like the villain was Killer Croc, and he wasn't even really a villain. It was very sort of a quiet issue. And this one struck the same chord with me. But Hassan and I argue about this all the time. Well, he agrees, but he still tells me to shut up because it's Batman. I'm like, why the fuck is Vandal Savage the commissioner of Gotham City? It makes no fucking sense. Like, I don't read Batman, and it appeared in some other DC issue. I was like, what's going on? And then Hassan had to explain to me that Batman has money again. And I'm like, but he was poor, and now he's like, I can't keep track.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep reading it for a while. Just one, because I do like Fraction, and two, I do think the overarching plot is going to be with Vandal Savage, and maybe they'll button that up in 6 issues and move on. But I do want to see some more Batman Rogue Gallery, and this one did not have it, but maybe next issue, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well,
And I hope
speaking
they're
of
not-
rogue galleries,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Dan.
No, go ahead. No, I was
please.
just saying that I kind of hope that that they're not. I hope that they're not kind of reining in the rogues on the main line Batman story because we're getting so many of them all at once in Absolute Batman. They can coexist.
No, I don't. I
want.
think they're unrelated. Yeah, I don't think there's.
I do too, but I would hope that somebody in the office isn't thinking, well, they can read this if they want. So just, but yeah,
I don't
agree
think
with
it's
you
that
both,
deep
but
because I don't even think it's the same editors. I don't think it's. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's coincidental. But speaking of rogues galleries and the Absolute Universe, Absolute
Nice
Evil
segue.
#1 hit the stands this week. It is, of course, the first of, I'm sure, many to come crossovers of the Absolute line. And I'll just say right up front, on principle, I'm against this issue existing.
Same.
I think it is way too early in the start of something that genuinely feels different and magical in the launch of this Absolute line to bring it all together. And it's exactly the same path that Marvel followed with the Ultimates back when it was, 20 years ago now, when it was the new hotness. And I shouldn't be surprised that it's happening because it's a chance for them to make money. And they convince themselves that these tie-ins, these events will bring people to read the other books that they may not be reading. I think that is maybe that was once true, but that has been a fallacy for a long time. And I'll just speak personally. I am not going to read any of the Absolute books that I'm not reading now just because of this. I'll keep reading the ones I am. I will give them credit for, I sincerely hope, and I haven't looked at the solicits to know, but I sincerely hope that the crossover nature is entirely contained in this series. I don't know if that's true or not. I hope it is. I will be very frustrated if the next Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman issues I open up are crossovers to this. I don't know if you guys know that, whether that's the case or not. I don't offhand know one way or the other.
I don't get the impression that it is because I still keep
Good,
seeing
okay.
interviews that at some point Wonder Woman is going to run into Batman. I think in one of their books, but I don't feel like this is the line. This is the issues that's going to bring all of these characters together.
Okay, good. This is written by Al Ewing, who I think is a very good writer, very good superhero writer, with art, very nice art, by the way, by Giuseppe Camuncoli. Nice to see him doing something that I'm reading again. It's been a while. At least I think it's been a while. I might be forgetting something, but I don't remember seeing his name lately. And the premise here is essentially that you're getting a window into the Legion of Doom, and because it's the Absolute Universe in this world, of course, the Legion of Doom is the Justice League. And they're coming together in a secret cabal to essentially take out all of these upstart Absolute heroes that are popping up all over the world. I have absolutely no issues with the execution of this book, with plotting, with the pacing, with the art, with the structure. All made sense. I think that the analogs we're getting for the villains all seems reasonable. Most we hadn't seen before. You've got in the Absolute Universe, rather, we've got Veronica Cale, we've got Ra's al Ghul, Hector Hammond, we've got Eleanor Thawne, the Joker, and Brainiac. And then I guess maybe we'll save there's one other that gets revealed at the end of the issue. I guess we'll save that. That's the big issue. That's the big aha of the issue. But one other. It feels very like logical in that if you were to be tasked, okay, we need to do a book that brings the absolute version of the Justice League into this world, what would it be like? It all makes sense to me. But I think my general belief that it's too soon has me still weighing against saying I like the book. I can't really give you any cogent or valid criticism for the book as a work itself. Again, I can't nitpick the art. I can't nitpick. Like, I thought all the characters were fine. I thought it all read true. It was, again, I don't think there was any like really stupid ass ideas in it, but I still closed the book and thought, like, I really wish I wasn't I wouldn't. I would have no intention of reading this were we not doing this podcast, and like that, wasn't quote unquote our job to like cover this kind of thing. So, where do y'all sit with this?
You want to go first, Brian?
Sure.
For a second.
It felt like a Bendis book to me.
Yes, a lot of talking.
Okay, it's funny
Yes.
you say that because I keep going.
I don't mean that in a bad way, but and I
Sure.
said this to Brian earlier today because he read it too, and I was like, it's a very slow burn issue. I'm reading all the Absolute books, so I've seen where all of these characters come in. I thought this was a weird introduction to Absolute Joker, especially since they revealed what he's going to look like later, and the character at the end. But it's very talking heads and explaining the nature of the Absolute Universe and how this group ends up being the Justice League. Jason, I get your point. I could see this going on longer with each of these members. They've all been in the background of the Absolute books. Like Veronica Cale's been the strings behind some stuff. Hector Hammond, the same in the Green Lantern book. I think Ra's al Ghul has been the only one that's been like overtly that's fought any of the characters so far. I liked it all right. Like I said, I'm reading all the Absolute books, but some are much better than others. And I also am reading the other DC books that are on the other side of this Absolute stuff, Justice League and Superman. So we're seeing all the angles of the story they're building with Darkseid. I liked it. I like the history of this world that they laid out some. But if you're looking for an action-packed book, this is not it. Although Ultimate Hawkman is a son of a bitch.
Absolute Hawkman,
Yeah, I guess there's multiple big reveals in this book. To their credit, like there's the villain that we get introduced to in the last page, and then there's to your point, Hawkman in this world is evil and has been from jump. He's basically like and he
he's like the Taskmaster.
he kills another major hero. Yeah, he kills another major hero in this issue. And again, since it's Absolute, I assume he actually is dead. Like, I'm assuming this is not like the DC where we'd like side and be like, "Oh, he'll be back in 3 months." Like, he's dead.
Doesn't please me at all.
Well, I mean, why do I like again? Like, is this a new unit? Like, I have no like.
I get it.
Like, this character means nothing to me because we haven't seen him. So, or we haven't, there's not. We haven't seen he hasn't built any good. Like, it's not like I've been reading him.
And even though somebody else, because it's a legacy character, somebody else can pick up the mantle, this particular character we will never see in this universe, which is what torques me a little bit. Because I do like this character, and he's been taken off the board right away. So I mean, granted, this universe has been around for almost a year, so it's I guess now is it good enough time to kind of introduce the other side of all these coins. But yes, like you, I definitely could have done without this issue right now. Not to say it couldn't happen eventually, but I do feel it's a bit too soon, because only 2 of the series have are hitting the 12 issue mark, and the first 3 books have only put out the first collection of the first half dozen issues. So it feels too soon. The Bendis mention hit me pretty much right away, because this didn't necessarily feel like the Illuminati, but it did feel like that Dark Reign issue with Norman and Emma and Namor and everybody else on the dark side of that, when Civil War ended and we got the whole Dark Reign era. I definitely got that vibe from this, because of it. It's a bunch of bad guys sitting around a table. That's if you say that's what this issue contains, I guarantee you anybody reading comics in the past 15 years is going to say, "Oh, it's a Bendis Avengers comic." So it's not a dig. It's just it fits. It's a cliche for a reason, but
Literally, I thought I could picture and I don't know what issue it is in New Avengers, but I could picture the Avengers sitting around a table for like most of an issue talking.
Yep.
And I'm like,
Sure.
double page spreads of them sitting around a table talking.
Yeah, for sure. And to be clear, I'm on record as I really did enjoy. I genuinely enjoyed the Bendis event. So
Yes.
no. Yeah.
I mean, it was funny. It was clever. The quips. I mean, bringing in Jessica Jones and retconning that whole thing in, and the crush on Peter, and it was funny. I enjoyed it. But we got. I was a little. I guess it would have been silly for me to think that the introduction of Wonder Woman or an alien from Krypton landing on the planet, or a dude in Gotham trying to fight crime, that these would be the first examples of these beings in this universe. And we hit the ground with this issue in the late 30s and early 40s with the Sandman and Hawkman and Iron Monroe, that they pulled out fucking young all-stars. It's insane to me that the characters that they decide to bring up to let you know how rich or long lasting powers have been in this universe. It is similar to the mainline DC universe. It was as I'm reading it, I'm starting the issue off, and I'm still feeling like I don't want to like this. I'm reading this because, like you said, Jason, it's new and it's something that we're going to talk about. So have at it. But there was a moment where I really was feeling some kind of way when Mr. Hall comes into the room. But after that, and the man who never jokes starts talking, and he and of course I'm guessing it's even though you're not supposed to have any electronics and this is a closed door meeting, I'm guessing Raish's Meta Ray bands is what's transmitting to Brainiac, and that's so
Mirror
obviously
Master.
And with Mirror Master. Oh, so Mirror Master's involved with the glasses? I mean, obviously he's setting up the screens, but okay, all right.
Yeah, because Brainiac thanks him for it. He says he couldn't be. Yeah,
right.
He wouldn't have been able to do this without him. Yeah,
but I wasn't sure if he was also.
It's not electronic. It's
the lenses. Yep, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's more in part with his line. That's more in line with his powers. Perfect. So, there was, I don't. The reveal of the Hall of Justice was funny, but there was a moment before the end of the issue and before the big reveal, because the big reveal did. I not gonna lie, I smiled when I saw who answered the phone, and something changed. There was something about the issue before I finished it where I wasn't as angry is a strong word, but I wasn't feeling the same way I did when I started the issue. I'm not saying it won me over with it, but it didn't. I'm not surprised this issue exists, but it didn't end the way I expected it to end. So for that, I'll give them credit, because I thought this was going to be something completely. I didn't think we were going to get what we got, and so I had preconceived notions, and I was going in, kind of half-cocked, feeling some kind of way. I still wish this didn't happen yet, but the way this was presented and the way characters were introduced, I softened as I finished it. So I'm not about to start reading all the Absolute books that I'm currently not reading.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm still going to enjoy what I'm enjoying. If there is some sort of event, and that's the other thing. Like if it's an event that's just contained to Absolute, then maybe I might dip my toes in it. But if we're starting, and this is, if I thought this was too early, if I thought Absolute Evil was too early, a crossover with the Absolute and the All In lines, I think is way too early. So I'm not making a proclamation that I'm done with the Absolute books if they do that, but I that is not something I want to see right away or at any time soon. So I also thought, I was under the impression, and if I'm wrong, great. Well, I don't know if it's great. I thought this was a one shot. I haven't looked to see if issues 2 or 3 have been solicited, but if this is something that's going to come out every so often, I don't know what Absolute Evil is. I just thought this particular issue, while I had reservations when it was announced, the finished product after reading it, and Camuncoli and Nesi definitely play a part in my enjoyment of it. Yeah, I kind of want to see where the big reveal on the last page. I want to see where that character ends up, because it I don't want to say it would make sense for him to appear in a certain Absolute series just based on history, because the big bad in that book isn't a character that I would associate with that hero. So I'm not trying to write whatever story they're going to tell. I'll wait to see how things play out. But yeah, I did not dislike this issue as much as I thought I would. And I'm still I'm gonna wait and see, but I didn't finish the issue and throw it across the room and curse everybody involved.
Yeah, it is a one shot, just the record. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. Okay.
Yeah. Although most believe it's going to lead to an Absolute Justice League or Absolute, like that's,
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
But that's not. I mean, that's just speculation. There's been nothing officially announced by DC on that.
So are you guys reading Justice League Unlimited and the Superman books?
Yep.
I'm reading Justice League Unlimited and Superman proper. I think I'm not reading Action. I'm not reading. I stopped reading World's Finest.
Yeah, I'm behind on Unlimited.
Wade and Moore left. So JLU and Superman, yes. The others, no.
Okay, so y'all are current with everything going on with the Legion of Darkseid. And
I haven't. I haven't read the
multiple months behind.
Yeah, I haven't read the most recent issue of Superman. I only read the first 2 chapters of the Legion and Superboy Prime story. So I need to read the latest issue of Superman before I read this week's Justice League Omega Act.
Yes.
So
yeah. So you were talking about not wanting them to cross over soon, which I agree. But they're going to have to. They're getting to a boiling point on this Darkseid storyline. DC
especially
proper.
When you see the when the Joker is talking about the experiment and the particle that they found. I mean, it's all right here. I mean, they're telling you, they're giving you the roadmap. But I would really, and I know it's mainstream comics, so you don't get what you want, but I would really, really appreciate a slow burn on this. I don't need this to be the summer event of 2026. Let it breathe. Give it some fucking time, please. I'm begging you. They're not going to, but I'm still begging you.
Yeah, DC's going to have to do something because there's too much going on with the stuff in Justice League and Superman. Now, it might not touch those main Absolute books, but with the Legion of Darkseid, which is the future of this Absolute world, they're going to have to do something.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, if we're being fair,
in a week too. So
right. I mean, if we're being fair, as much as I've loved the standalone quirky nature of all these Absolute books, to your point, and in fairness to DC, they did launch this with the premise that this is a universe, as cast by Darkseid, right? Like, so it's not, yeah. So as much as I'm with you, I have no interest in, and I will probably not even read any kind of crossover between the main DCU and this when it happens. I do agree. A, it is happening at some point, and B, like if I'm playing fair, it's not like out of left field, like to say that this was always the plan. But I just it doesn't interest me, but that's cool. I mean, but that doesn't mean it's not like something they.
I mean, the Absolute Line's been around for a year. I mean, maybe this has been the slow burn. So, I mean, maybe I should just be thankful for what we got instead of, wishing for more.
That's true. That's true. And I will give Ewing his propers because he did correctly note that Wonder Woman is the biggest threat. So, good for him.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Ewing knows what's up.
Yeah, and that was another part of why I was when I started reading the issue and I was like, okay, yeah, so my fears were warranted, and I should be mad about this because it goes back to the whole concept of people who think of bad people who have power thinking that they know what's best for everybody, and my whole well, as Jason points out, we all have an anti-bully stance, but it's like, oh, why do I need to see a room full of bullies who want to who just think that they know best because God forbid somebody else with power wants to inspire people. That's what kills me. It's like, oh, these people are going to inspire others, and we can't have that. Who the fuck are you? Like, I can't. Oh my God. So props to Ewing for getting me upset at characters drawn on a page, but it wasn't. Well, just to hammer it home some more. Yeah, it was what I expected, but I was surprised at what we got.
Yeah, for sure. What else we got?
The only other thing I have is for Erwin, your travels.
All right. Well, excuse me. Our good buddy Mario posted on his socials this week because he had just finally read. Well, not finally, but because it's not that old, but he just read Jesse Lonergan's Drome, which, as you guys know, I gushed about and believe it will, barring any kind of massive shock in the next 2 months, will end up being my favorite thing from this year. And Mario said, I just read Drome, and it's absolutely the favorite thing I've read this year, along with Precious Rubbish. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he spoke about Precious Rubbish on the show one week when he was filling in for me. Is that correct? I believe that's right.
I do believe so, because he's the reason why I bought it directly from Kayla at Heroes.
Ah, that makes sense, because you were telling me at the time, and I didn't know who the fuck Kayla E was. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
Like, so I forgot she was even there. Well, yeah, so I guess I'm latest to procure it. But I did, in fact, buy this book because, of course, it's Fantagraphics, and did also finally read it. And a few thoughts. I think from a craft perspective, I can get with Mario on the idea that it's one of the better things that I've come across this year. I think I got to part ways with him on the idea that it holds a candle to Drome for me in enjoyment, only because to me Drome was just like genuinely enjoyable on all levels, and I discussed it at length, but like the idea that it had depth, but also on the surface it was just a really kick-ass fantasy story. This is not that. This is, I believe, and intentionally so I don't mean this pejoratively, this is a difficult read. It is a story born and about her trauma, and so it's not one of those books where you read it and then close it and say, well, goddamn, that was a hoot. I mean, you read it and say, yep. Oh wow, like, thank you, Kayla, for sharing your trauma with us. Like, that's a gracious thing to do and a brave thing to do. But yeah, I can't say it was like I didn't enjoy the book, and I'm not sure I'm supposed to enjoy the book, right? Like, so I did close it and say, well, this is a really masterfully crafted example of what this kind of story can be about and how it can be presented. But it didn't feel great. Like, I was like, but like, it's definitely like pretty morose stuff. So a little background for those, and again, I'm probably repeating some things that Mario discussed when he reviewed it, but Kayla E is, and she works for Fantagraphics. She is a book designer at work. She is responsible, or partially responsible, I'm not sure how big the team is, for the physical representation of Fantagraphics books looking and feeling the way they do, which to me makes her an all-time great person, because as you guys know, I adore Fantagraphics. I read almost everything that comes out from them, and I always, even if a work doesn't connect with me, it's always masterfully produced physical object. Right, the paper quality, the cover treatment, the binding, everything is of the highest quality, and I really appreciate that. And Kayla plays a big role in that, from what I understand. So she's also been serializing what we got in Precious Rubbish for a long time, and it is essentially a big, almost 200-page collection of autobio comic, and it's in different forms. There's like panel, like kind of Sunday morning cartoon takes. There's longer narrative. There's like 1-page short stories with panels. It's there's not a standard format with which he's presenting herself or her life. It's structurally different across the book over different periods, depending on what she's covering. Visually speaking, though, there is a consistency. So this isn't one of those cases of someone who gives you an anthology book and they show you how they can draw in a million different ways. She's got a very specific style, and I would imagine it's a style that will work for some and completely be a turnoff for others. It's more of an infographic style. Think Chris Ware mixed with OSHA posters. Like it's big, thick lines, primary colors, and very little detail. It's very pop graphic-y. I had no problem with it. Certainly not the kind of art I'd want to see most stories being told by, but for what this was, for her telling her story, it had an interesting effect, and then I thought it was... The art is so clean and graphical that it helps, kind of like a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, and that it helps you, I think, get through what's a pretty shitty life experience in many ways a little easier, right? Like, because the visuals aren't as arresting as they might be otherwise. But yeah, man, like, again, it really well done, and anyone that's willing to share their own life, especially a life that they feel had trauma and they're trying to deal with it, is gets a hat tip to me. You all know I've read and talked about a million stories of that ilk over the years, so it's certainly a genre that I enjoy. So praise up to her for sure. But again, not something I can say that like I'm thrilled to have read, just because I don't think I'm supposed to have built thrilled that I read. Like I come away empathically experiencing that she's had a pretty tough life and has had to deal with a lot of shit. And kudos again for sharing it. And if it helps other people cope, that's great. But it certainly wasn't something that I think is for everybody. I think this book is going to hit for a subset of people, and for most others, it's going to be relatively inaccessible, if I'm being honest. So,
if you long for the feel good days of Miles, then definitely give Precious Rubbish a chance.
Well, that's true. I mean, yeah, that's fair.
She and massive congrats to Kayla for winning the Ignatz earlier this year, a couple weeks ago. She's great. And what's wild is I spoke to her for a little bit at Heroes, and she's an absolute joy, and I think we'll invite her on the show soon. But seeing the woman, seeing her, talking to her, and then finding out this book and this is what she experienced. It's like you would never. It's wild. It's not. I did not expect the person I met to be responsible for this work, because I wouldn't have expected that person to come out of this. And it's
You mean because she's pleasant and attractive?
Yes.
I mean, like, what do you mean by that? Okay.
no, just yeah. I mean, the personality, just I mean, she's bubbly and smiles and just absolutely a delight. And
I mean, isn't that like Zoe though too, right? Like Zoe's, her books are about her.
Well,
trauma,
no,
she's very pleasant to be around.
Zoe is definitely pleasant to be around, but Zoe, the at New York, she obviously Zoe's also younger, but she wasn't withdrawn, but she was focused on the commission. She had work to do, so she was happy to see people come up to the table. She was signing. She was she was chatting with the fans. It was nice to see. She would smile. She would. There would be life there, but if you were to put Kayla and Zoe side by side, Kayla's got the I'm explaining it right, but there's more. Kayla's got more of more of an outgoing personality. Zoe would seem a little bit more introverted than Kayla would to my eyes.
Got it.
They're both absolutely wonderful, absolutely delightful people. But as far as the personality traits go, Kayla's a bit more bubbly. But they, but no, that it's just, but also, even though Zoe, of course, most recently dealt with a very personal, devastating blow, and has to deal with those situations. That's not. She's of course going to tell. She is telling that story as she sees fit. But it's the way it's presented and how they carry themselves, the two women individually. But yeah, but when this is the first thing I've read from Kayla. So whereas
I think it's the only
Zoe,
thing she's ever put out. I mean,
well, yeah, personally, yeah. I mean, I could look at anything from Fantagraphics and be like, oh yeah, I have a Kayla book on my shelf. But yeah, I mean, as far as anything that she's had published herself, whereas with Zoe, we've had Center of the Universe, we've had Rain, we've had Hack Slash. So I mean, we've got a body of work with Zoe where her line work. It's weird with Zoe for me. Now that it's been a few years. Zoe's artwork and Zoe are kind of synonymous. I can see when I look at Zoe's line, I know exactly the person creating that. Whereas if you gave me Precious Rubbish to read without knowing who the author was, and then I met Kayla, I would have think that this isn't the same person. The person who wrote this, who drew this, who put this together is not the same person I just had a conversation with. Whereas with Zoe, I could see that the way I get the impression that, especially the personal stuff from Zoe, like the impending blindness, things like that, like that, I feel like I get a sense of who the author is when I read Zoe's works.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm making my way through Precious Rubbish. I wish I had finished it before Drome arrived, because now I'm juggling both. But I need to read both before the end of the year, obviously.
Well, Drome you can read in one sitting. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I started it.
I don't know what... You've had Precious Rubbish for months now. I don't know what's taking you so long, but you're
really... it has. I haven't, because there were other things to read. But yes, I know Heroes was in June. I get it, but and Drome I started, and if it wasn't for me having to leave the house, I probably would have finished it. So it's going to be easy enough for me to get back to Drome. But yeah, but also Drome is a genre that is definitely up my alley. Whereas Precious Rubbish it's because it's not a feel-good book. It's not necessarily something I want to sit down and read in one sitting. So I need to kind of give myself a break from it a little bit here and there. But it'll still be finished. But yeah, I can't do that to myself and power through. I also don't want to give it a disservice and just kind of like finish and be like, yeah, I finally read it. No, I want to, as painful as it may be, I do want to give it the attention it deserves.
Yeah, well,
Have you read Precious Rubbish?
Kayla's quite an accomplished person. She went to Harvard. I mean, she's definitely she's a bad. No, I'm saying she's a she's not she's a very erudite, highly skilled professional. But yeah,
100%. Did you check out?
I imagine Brian has not read this because Brian reads a lot of comics, but he checks out when it comes to the Fanta and indie with an X stuff. You almost never read that stuff, I feel like.
Yeah, it's just this isn't up my alley. But.
Yeah, this isn't your speed. Yeah. I didn't think so. I assume you fast forward anytime we're like, oh, it's a Fantagraphics Orama. You're like, all right.
I can skip this episode.
Skip that next section. All right, cool.
I would still listen, but yeah, it's not up my alley.
Yeah. Nah, I totally understand that. We all have our stuff that just don't connect. Yeah. Nah, but props to her again. It's a wonderful accomplishment.
Yes.
I got nothing. Again, I think a theme for me tonight unintentionally is I have nothing against these comics, even if I don't necessarily like that. No, not even. It's just no. Again, I don't. This isn't a but. But I don't think I could do. I just can't. To me, Drome and this book and Precious Rubbish just exist in completely different planes of existence. I can't. I couldn't fathom ranking them in the same kind of list. You know what I mean? They're just different things entirely.
But how great is comics where these two completely opposite ends of the spectrum, the books can both be talked about as greats for this year.
Oh, definitely. That's what I love about comics. And I will say, I mean, again, I probably sound like some people are probably going to call me a hypocrite because I mean, It's Lonely at Center Earth was far and away my favorite comic that year, and obviously was ranked against things like super. So it is possible to rank all the stuff. But but for some reason reading Precious Rubbish felt just more like a sharing in someone's catharsis than than anything that was a narrative,
Yeah.
So I'm also not surprised that it really hit home with Mario, given his aesthetic.
Yeah, you're right. And and the packaging is amazing. I mean, the embossing and it's
oh yeah, beautiful. No, of course, it's fantastic.
It's great look.
It's for sure.
Okay. Anything else before we wrap it up?
We can do your travels. I've got.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Something for that. Yeah. No, I got a two shot for the inner travel. So we'll do 2 quick hits. So I'll just do that.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for checking us out. Episode 1002 of 11 O'Clock Comics. As always, again, cheapgraphicnovels.com. Get all your collection hardcover trades needs met there. Patreon.com/11 O'Clock Comics, 11o'clockcomics.com. You can find us on the socials, and in your travels, I decided to give this new #1 from IDW a shot because I am a fan of the TV show, and I figured, how bad can a comic book version of a beloved TV show like The Twilight Zone be? Blanks is the title of the story in this first issue. It's written by Dan Waters, and it is drawn by Morgan Beam. It's a Twilight Zone story. It's about a billionaire named Edward Kane who arrives on a very secluded island. He's on the hunt for the Fountain of Youth. It's kind of a luxury resort kind of island. He meets a doctor there who is working on kind of working on a cure of sorts. The human body is a war zone. It's what kills most of us in the end, according to the doctor. Degradation of cells and tissue. So they started looking into certain viruses, and apparently there are some that are capable of wiping out the immune system's memory. So a phenomenon that they've called immune amnesia. And you know, they decided, what if you could do that to every cell in the body, engineered from a disease that once killed mankind. It's a benevolent virus that will spread throughout humanity and basically, you know, help people. It will live forever. It'll make cells forget their decay. It'll rejuvenate them. So Kane is like, listen, I'm patient zero. I'm your guinea pig. I need this. And the doctor's like, bro, we need testing. I mean, we're still about a decade away from having this be able to be administered to people. And my man's like, bro, I've got cancer. I am not. I'm dying. I don't have 10 years. So this has to happen. And he does. They give him the injection, and that's when we really get a whole kind of. That's when the Twilight Zone effect kicks in, because he goes to sleep after the injection, and when he wakes up, things aren't really quite what they appear, and it's a typical O. Henry tale. Be careful what you wish for. Things do not go according to plan, pretty much for everybody else, I'll say. Kane may make it out okay, but there's still damage done due to this, and that's where that's pretty much as well, again, also typical Twilight Zone fashion. It ends the way you would expect the Twilight Zone story to end, where who knows where we go from here. But it was it's in black and white. I like the tonally. It's got there's like some gray wash here and there for effect, but it really it felt like a Twilight Zone story. So kudos to the team for that. The next issue, the second issue, has a pretty funky cover by none other than Tom Scioli. I do not know if he is writing or drawing or both, or if he's just a cover artist, but I'll check out the second issue to see if he is involved. But it was it was a Twilight Zone story. I definitely will tell you that. It's a done in one. So no worries if you want to just check it out. But yeah, in your travels, Twilight Zone from IDW.
Very nice. In your travels, I have two things for y'all. First is a super fun one. Fun if you're not a person of Judeo-Christian faith. Let me throw that out there. So, to shout out to all of our Christian listeners out there, but this is probably not a book for you. And it is called "Won't You Be My Savior?"
Oh yes,
it is. Yeah, it is. It says right at the top. It says for adult heretics only. It is published by Purgatory Comics Press, and it was written by a longtime friend of the show, Mr. Joe Sieracki, edited by Lars Allen. And DAP and I got to meet and chat with Joe. I'm sure we talked about it in our Heroes Recap at Heroes. He was very kind to us. He's done a bunch of comics over the years that we've enjoyed, including with Mr. Lonergan. And with he's someone who has been in our periphery as a creator and also listener for a long time. He did Letter to Joe with Kelly Treatford Williams. He also did Life and Death of the Brave Captain Suave. Same thing with Kelly. That was not Kickstarted, Zooped. And then Ghosts of Science Past. which I think was that Humanoids? I think it was Humanoids, but that's the book he did with Lonergan. Joe's just out there like making great indie comics, and he has incredible taste and ability to befriend and work with incredible artists. So, Won't You Be My Savior is a single issue anthology that collects a bunch of stories about a guy who is absolutely vexed because Jesus Christ, the living, actually, the Son, the Holy Son, lives next door to him in a suburb, and he's an absolute, and Jesus is the worst fucking neighbor ever. Like, he's just a bad neighbor. And these are just funny stories about that very thing. All written by Joseph and drawn by different kick-ass artists. So, if Cliff's listening, I'm sure he is, the cover of the issue is by none other than Mark Laszlo. Incredible. The back cover is by Michael Sweater. Again, incredible. You've got pinups by Josh Baer. Vince, your heart be still. Ben Passmore and Hyena Hill. And then you've got stories by Aaron Conley, my boy, Leo Fox, Leo Missenheimer, Noah Van Sciver, Corinne Halbert, Joe Pettinger, Nate Garcia, Sam Moore, Rich Tommaso, Ethan Llewellyn, Gary Dumm, Kelly Williams, and Josh Simmons. So and Paul Rainey. Sorry, this is just incredible stuff. There's a second volume coming out next year, and it's really funny, man. Like Joseph's a funny dude, and it's the stories range in aesthetic. He works, each story looks very different depending on the artist, but the premise is that Jesus is a pain in the ass. Some of the stories are in color, some are black and white, but he's just a fucking terrible neighbor, dude, and he just does crazy shit because he's the son of God, and it fucking the worst. You would hate living next to him, and it just cracked me up again. It's not that deep. No one gets. It's not all that. It's not sacrilegious. It's just a little fun. So really thought that was great. So do check that out. I believe the easiest way to get it would be to go to Joseph's website, which is Joseph Sieracki, and that's SIERACKI.com, or Purgatory Press, and their website is Purgatory Comics Press. So Purgatory Comics with an S Press. Purgatory Comics Press, all one word.com, and you can check it out there. And I'm looking now at the site. Yes, you can in fact order it right from there, and it's well worth your shekels, I assure you. And then the other book I wanted to mention is Orphan and the Five Beasts, Bath of Blood, #1. Now look, this is a book that has been a long time coming. Orphan and the Five Beasts was published in 2022. It's been 3 years since we got the first 4 issues. For those that may not remember, this is a written and drawn by the wonderful James Stokoe, and it is a story about a young martial artist whose master dies. His dying words are that he wants her to go find and take out the 5 beasts, who are former students of his who have developed into basically feudal crime lords. And if you think this sounds a lot like the premise of 5 Deadly Venoms, it absolutely is exactly the premise of 5 Deadly Venoms, and James makes no bones about that. He is a incredible devotee of Shaw Brothers films and other films of that ilk, and he wanted to do his own version of that. And so he thought, why be coy about it? I'm just going to use 5 Deadly Venoms as the jumping off point, because I don't want to hide that that's the inspiration for it. Loved, absolutely adored the first 4 issues. In the first 4 issues that we got in 2022, our heroine vanquishes 2 of the 5 beasts, and the series ends on the climactic defeat of the second. And that was all we got. And I have to admit, there was a time when I thought we were never going to actually end up getting the rest of the story. But lo and behold, Stokoe got his mojo back, and we're getting this next arc. So, first issue of 4 dropped recently, and it was glorious. It was absolutely glorious. I am a massive fan Stokoe's art. It is unlike any other that you see. It is packed with lines and detail and exaggerated people and exaggerated adventure and action. And you give me Stokoe doing Shaw Brothers martial arts film with crazy, overpowered, boss villains. I'm going to enjoy every single panel of it, and that's exactly what I'm getting. So, for those of you that may have forgotten about this series because it's been a few years and weren't conscious of the fact that it's back, it is in fact back. So please do check out Orphan and the Five Beasts: Bath of Blood #1.
Nice.
All right, you segued very well into my pick. It is also a martial arts tale of bloody revenge.
Nice.
There are certain books that we take for granted that are good, and they've been out for years, and we just don't talk about them anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm gonna bring up one of them. I Hate Fairyland #44.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, yeah.
You love that book.
I absolutely adore this book. So, written by Scotty Young with art by Derek Laufman, and you're like, it's Fairyland. What are you talking about? Martial arts, tale of bloody revenge. Well, Gert has a new frenemy, who is a Usagi Yojimbo analog named Unaki, who looks like Usagi as a woman and a mushroom, and she is on a tale of revenge for Gert slaughtering her whole family when Unaki was just a child. And she has made it her life mission to destroy Gert and is hunting for her throughout Fairyland. And one of the Easter eggs is she decapitates Scotty on the first couple pages. So, you got to look in the background on Fairyland. There's always something going on. And, Gert's kind of made peace with being in Fairyland at this point. But Anaki finally finds her, and Gert decides she wants to be her friend. But being Gert's friend does not quite work out. So by the end of the issue, they are at each other's throats and both about to kill each other. I am interested to see where this one goes. And Stan Sakai actually did a variant cover of Gert in full-on Usagi land for this issue. So it was cool to see.
That's awesome.
It is a great cover.
I don't ever talk about this book anymore either. You're right, and it's mainly because Scotty doesn't need any more inflated ego. But no. In all seriousness, it is great, and it's I was feeling some kind of way when he. What's that?
It's still on my pull list. So yeah.
Oh yeah. I was feeling some kind of way when he stopped drawing it, but I've gotten over that. Like
he's picked some great people. Like some of them look just
really
like
has.
him,
Yeah.
and some are a little different, but they're still good, and they still got the style.
Absolutely.
For it.
Yep. Absolutely. Scotty's been very good so far in his career as a writer with partnering up with interesting and talented illustrators.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
Nicely done, Mr. Newberry.
Thank you very much for that.
Appreciate y'all having me.
We definitely appreciate you. Thank you, Brian, for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you again, listeners, for hanging out with all of us. We will actually next week will probably be early. That's why I was saving Savior for next week, because we're the next couple of weeks the schedule's been a little crazy. Like we've said earlier, we've got Baltimore Comic-Con, so we have that's next weekend, not this coming weekend. The following weekend is New York Comic-Con. The weekend after that is Baltimore Comic-Con. New York Comic-Con, you'll likely see us on Sunday if you're in the area. But Baltimore Comic-Con, we will be there for the 3 days. We'll arrive Thursday evening sometime, and we'll be there Friday for the show. The show starts at 1 on Friday. Yeah, we've got that. Is there anything you're looking forward to at Baltimore, Brian?
Seeing all my friends. That's why I go.
Facts.
No, it's a fun con though. I know you guys hadn't been in a while, but this will be my third time the last couple years. It's like Heroes, but it's a little different. It's just fun to hang out. The creators are all easily accessible. They got some good back issue bins. It's just a fun little con.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, really stoked to be going back. Like you said, it's been well over a decade since we last went, and it'll be weird not being at Comic-Con for all 4 days, but I'm not. I think it'll also make our appreciation for the con. Yeah, it'll make next year feel better because we won't have the immediate sense of exhaustion and dread of having to deal with 150,000 people every day for 4 straight days. So yeah.
All right. Thank you again, everybody. We will be back next week, and we will just bid you all a good night.
That's it for that one.